G'day everyone. I thought we'd have a look at something which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And that would be planting stuff you can get from the supermarket. So you can try this with capsicum seeds and tomato seeds and those things, and they do tend to work sort of, but they're not the best product to be planting, I think. Generally things like tomatoes, they're bred for how long they last, longevity on the shelf, how tough they are. This is why shop-bought tomatoes are like a bloody rubber ball. Bounce them off walls or play a game of squash with them. But some things can actually work. One of the ones I found that does work is ginger. Ginger seems to work quite well. I've been growing ginger from shop-bought ginger for a long time. It's no longer shop-bought because I've replanted my own ginger. But I've overused a little and planting a bit late, so I'm going to start off another batch of shop-bought. The other one, of course, is garlic. And I've done an experiment with this before, and it's not as good as a seed garlic, but if you get the right one, maybe it is. So we'll try this and I'll explain that when we get to it later on. So we'll start with the ginger. The ginger, I have put in a bowl of water and left it for a day or so. A couple of reasons for this. First reason is the farmers will quite often coat this with something to stop it growing. So soaking it in some water gets rid of that mostly. The other one is I want to make sure it's really well hydrated, ready to sprout for us in the garden. We also, I've got 3 pieces here, and the bigger piece you put in, the bigger your returns quite often. I think that's true to a certain extent. What I will be doing is taking this one off, so we want to cut it into usable sizes. So if we look at this one, you can either cut it, but I just prefer to go snap. And I've got that one and that one. That one's still a bit big for our experiment. I'll break it again. So in one pot, I am going to put my 3 little bits. In another pot, I'm going to put 2 large bits. And we'll see which one comes out better in a year's time. So there's our ginger done. That's pretty easy. The ginger I got from Aldi. It may or may not be organic. Doesn't really matter that much because we won't be eating this. That'll sort of just shrink away and turn into nothingness. And I grow the rest organically, so it really doesn't matter that much. Anything residual in there is pretty minor. But with the garlic, that's a little different. This is organic Australian garlic. A couple of reasons for that. First one is, if you buy the Chinese garlic, which we get a lot of in Australia, it's bleached, it's coated with an anti-growth thing to stop it sprouting in the shop, and it's not the right variety for growing in Australia. It's hardneck and softneck garlic, which I will explain in another video probably. And this is the hardneck, and you can tell because it's got a really rigid stem right there. Purple garlic. It was marked as organic Australian, so hopefully it's all good. But we can't plant it like this, of course. We've got to break all of the cloves out. So we will do that if we can. And the easiest way to do that, just get a knife, like you do with cooking it. Carefully put it in between. Give it a bit of a twist. Just breaking that paper up a little bit. Surround the outside of it. And now we can start just pulling them off. Oh, still hard. There we go. So I've just broken it in half. We'll get each of the cloves out, like so. Making sure you get the end piece off, which I'll show you in a sec on one of these. Alright, so right there, we have the end bit of the clove. We want to take that off because that will block our roots. So we take that off. We break all our cloves up, and we're going to be using the large cloves. The really small ones in there aren't going to give us a good clove, so we won't use them. We might use them in cooking. Right, so there we go. We've got it apart. I'll just break all these up. That's that stem I was mentioning. Hard stem. And again, that hard piece at the bottom there, you want to get that off. What we've ended up with is a handful of cloves like so. And this being Australian garlic, there are very few small cloves in there. In fact, I'll show you what the smallest one looks like and one of the larger cloves. So there's one of the larger ones and there's one of the smaller ones. And it turns out that is still suitable for planting. Get much smaller than that, you probably wouldn't want to. You want them as close to this as you can. But that's a borderline planting, so I will plant that. We have one more step, which I like to do. And that's the same as we did with the ginger. We're going to get all of our garlic here. We're going to throw it in our bowl of water. There we are. Give it a bit of a stir around. And we'll let that soak overnight. In that way, they'll be nicely hydrated, ready for planting. And if there is any growth inhibitors on there, hopefully we've washed them off. I'm going to pop all my ginger back in the water too, just to keep it hydrated. And we'll go out and plant that tomorrow. Stay tuned to see how we plant this stuff. We're out here in our rubbish greenhouse and we're going to be getting our garlic in. Now I've got two sorts of garlic. Importantly, I bought this at the Kalamunda Garden Festival. Now it's Italian purple seed garlic, meant for growing, so it should be good. I also got some Australian grown, supposedly organic garlic from the supermarket, which I planted just out there. And we'll be keeping an eye on both, see how they go, and look at the comparison of the two. So there's a couple of things we've got to do for garlic first. It needs at least 6 hours of sunlight a day, which it's not going to get with my plum tree growing over. So I'm going to trim back the plum tree. You know, just take off these sort of branches, a little bit more sun through. But my ginger grew really well in here, so I'm pretty sure the garlic will as well. Garlic also requires a slightly acidic soil. So we're going to do a quick test on the soil in these pots and adjust if necessary. So let's just get down. Oh, that's lovely. One of the other things we're doing is also fixing up the sprinklers so they get watered well. My trusty soil pH. I would expect that's about a 6, which is pretty neutral, tending towards 5.5, but certainly not up in the alkaline stage. So I think we'll leave that alone. That'll be fine. So let's get our mulch off the top, loosen this up a little bit. Still lots of organic material in here. Nothing been growing this for quite some time. We do need to get some fertilizer in, so we'll grab our good old-fashioned NPK. The joys of Australian sun. All the plastics become very, very brittle. Right, good handful of NPK in there. It's just sort of a general fertilizer. Dig that through. It's now just the beginning of winter, so it's the earliest time to put in garlic. Normally we'd put it in April in the southern hemisphere, but it's still only March. Thought I'd get a bit of a head start on it. It'll be early, it'll be fine, I think. So there we go, a little bit of fertilizer in there, lots of organic material. Let's open up our garlic. Now they've already separated all the cloves for us here, which is nice. And we plant them 1 to 2 centimetres deep, 10 to 20 centimetres apart. So I'm going to just go round in circles. And on the next one I'll bring it in closer. This is handy actually. That's about 100. So a little bit extra. And we've got room for one more there. And then we shall, and one more in the middle. No, not one more. That'll do us. That'll do us nicely. So now we'll label it. This is from my friends at Down to Earth, which is a local seed grower. And today's date is about the 6th, I think. So we'll cover it up. Make sure they're all covered. We only want a light mulch on here so that the garlic can get through. but we'll keep the moisture in. So that's one. I've got enough here to do another maybe 2 pots. We'll pull the old tomatoes out of there and top them up, get something else in that part. All right, on to the next. I've filled up all of these pots at the same time, so I know the pH is going to be pretty similar. Let's get the mulch out of there. Got a little bit packed down, so we'll loosen it up. Nothing's been growing in here for nearly 6 or 8 months, I think. You get through. So, this has had piggy post in it. I can tell by the chicken bones. And that's a better one, actually. And we can go on here. Now you'll notice how deep it is, just under the surface. A little, hopefully that's right. That little bit is just under the surface. This is a bit of the original clove. Always break that off just to make it easier for the roots to come out from there. Alright, so back in goes the mulch. Very light covering, as I said. A little bit of sugarcane mulch from here, because that sugarcane mulch is nice and light. And we label him. So we're going to put ginger in here, and I've got a couple of additives that we've got. I tried to grow mushrooms during our summer, king oyster in fact, and they failed. Not surprisingly, it's a bit of an experiment. I'm going to take the mushroom compost out of the bags, put it in here. That one almost grew. Oh, look at that, we got some, but they dried out. Summer in Perth is not mushroom time. But, oh, that was lion's mate. So we're just going to break that up a bit. You can see all the grain in there. Bit of our veggie concentrate in there. A little bit of our NPK. And some repurposed or salvage potting mix. Our reclaimed potting mix is really light stuff. It's not very good at all. It's mostly just bark now. We need to really build it up. And that's what our veggie mix here is for. Veggie concentrate, mushroom failure, and a bit of NPK. I reckon this will be all good again. Now, lots of reasons for reusing potting mix. A couple of reasons for not using them as well. Most important reason for me for reusing is the reduction of waste. The next most important reason is save me carrying bloody great heavy bags of potting mix when I've already got the base for it, which you would normally either throw out or, as I would do, put into your compost bins. But we can use it directly like this too. The disadvantage is, if you've got disease, you'll be passing it around. However, I know what I grew in here, and I know it's disease-free, so it's no issue. Right, so we're going to put some ginger in here, and this ginger pot, which has been soaking overnight, nice and hydrated. Going to put our 3 little bits in here, and we're just going to lay it down. It doesn't look like it's got any particular places where it'll sprout. Maybe there. Pop it in there. Cover it up. Don't want to plant them too deep though. Probably a couple of centimetres for that one. And again, just under the surface there. We shall now mulch it, label it, clean this one out, which has some turmeric in it, I think. Yes, turmeric. And repot that, and repot my strawberry. But we'll put, actually no we won't. We'll top this up, leave the turmeric, take our strawberry out, and I'll move the ginger over there. So let's just cover that up. And then I'll plant the 2 large bits, label them as large pieces, and in a year's time we'll come back and we'll see which one performed better. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe to see what happens. It's getting hot already. Only meant to be 30 degrees today, but it's definitely warm. I'll fix up the irrigation here so that it's spraying nicely into the garlic pots. Get my 3rd one in, clear out the others, and we're done for this bit before it does get too hot in this partial greenhouse. How's your luck been with garlic, and what varieties do you grow? As I said, this one is the Italian purple, which is pretty common in WA. Some years over good crop, some years failure. Got to watch out for the pests. There's the little black mites which get on there and they kill it really, really quickly. If we got too much humidity, which we might get in here, mold becomes an issue, or funguses and those sort of things. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and occasionally spray it with some of our eco fungicide stuff that we use. Apart from that, we just let them grow for nearly a year. I think around November's a harvest time. If you have any luck with it, let me know in the comments. Enjoy life, and I'll catch you in the garden.